We believe that doing nothing is not an option. We are not going to quit. We are not going to stop. We respect everybody's right to disagree with our process. In fact, we disagree with our process. And so my public affairs team said, now, wait, is this group marketing and advertising people? You're going to go and talk to them? Say, yeah, we can admit that we didn't do it perhaps the most aesthetic way. But what we are trying to do is spark that conversation and dialogue. And what we've done was spark conversation and dialogue, because after people got done talking about us, someone finally said, so why is it so hard? Right? It took them a while, but they got there. But we're not going to stop. So here's what you will see going forward from us. This compendium that was inserted in USA Today, we're going to do 3 more of these, so making a total of 4, once a quarter. The next one you'll see in June. Lots of information about the status of America, and questions and awareness building, unconscious bias, things that you can do, reflective questions. I encourage you to take a look at that. I encourage you to look for the next option. You'll see that coming out again in June. Doing nothing is not an option. So here's what we're going to do. We're sponsoring more conversations with and dialogues with communities. We've already done 10 across the country with our partners. We've already done 4 with police departments and communities. We started holding coffee with cops conversations in our stores so that communities and law enforcement officials can build their own relationships and begin to understand each other. So we provide them and invite them, and we ask them to have those conversations. We have our leaders showing up to have these conversations with coffee with cops and with communities and police chiefs across the country, with Chief Bratton in New York. We've been with the chief of LA, chief of Seattle, chief of Chicago, chief of Milwaukee. Probably we'll be here with the chief of Boston. We're going to Baltimore. We're having these dialogues and conversation because we believe that it's important. Because doing nothing is not an option. We've committed ourselves to hiring 10,000 young people who are disenfranchised, disconnected, or sometimes identified as opportunity youth in the U.S. We're going to find pathways for those young people. We're going to create opportunities for those young people to enrich their lives by utilizing our store and our process. Because doing nothing is not an option. So what we've decided we're going to do, we have a program that any person who works for us, any partner who works for us, has an opportunity to get a full college tuition from Arizona State University online. Full college tuition. The only thing that person has to do is to come up with, and we support and help them with the first credit or first opportunity to get the money. It's reimbursed before the class is over. It's reimbursed before the second class begins or classes begins, depending on how many that young person wants to take. Full 20-hour partner has an option for a full 4-year degree paid for by the organization. There is no commitment to work for us one day after you graduate. There is no stipulation on what type of degree that you must have. All we say is take advantage of the opportunity. So we're going to take young people from these disconnected communities. We're going to work with and partner with organizations who serve young people, who are serving people across the country. And what we're trying to do is find ways to work with them to help us work better inside of the communities and create more opportunities for young individuals, as well for all individuals who are interested in Starbucks. But we definitely look at TV and see how individuals are disconnected with their communities and how they're speaking by protesting, how they're speaking, with getting out on the street and trying to make the world hear their voice. How do we reach them? What can we offer them? Doing nothing is not an option. So we've decided that we're going to expand our store footprint into urban communities, places where I grew up, never had a Starbucks. Now we're thinking about how is it that we interact and get more connected in those communities, to create more opportunities and jobs, to create more opportunities for our suppliers, to create more opportunity for people to change their lives. That's what opportunity is about. Doing nothing, it's not an option. So when we get down to the end of this whole thing, doing nothing is not an option. When I talk to people who are supportive of diversity programs, inclusion, I mean, I could talk to you all day, and you can talk to me about statistics and performance and the way that our organizations work, and we know that those companies that support diversity are those companies that do really, really well in diversity, outperform their peers by an average of 26% on S&P markets, 28% on the FTSE market. We know that inclusion is important. We know that those organizations that drive inclusion and create cultures for what the Center for Talent Innovation tells us, that if you create an inclusive culture, you're 45% more likely to increase your current market. In an age of growth in business, 45% more likely to change your current market or grow it, 70% more likely to grow new markets. Business leaders, that's what they want to hear. How do we get to the point? We know that inclusion is important. You take a company that can sit and look at and create a $100 million channel just by talking to their diverse groups of employees. Frito-Lay did that. Frito-Lay decided to look out and say, wait a minute, we could talk to some of our employees who identified themselves as Hispanic or Latino, and we talked to them about products that they would like, created a new one, $100 million category, 2 years. So we know it works, but it really boils down to what are you going to do about it, right? We can't continue to have fun conversations and support each other and great dinners and all these other things. It really boils down to what are we going to do about it? And I'm not saying that to this crowd because, again, I'm, speaking to the choir. We're kind of working together. I'm talking about those other groups and individuals and communities that we have a chance to share with. We are talking about what we are going to do about it. Now we're asking you, what are you going to do about it? One of the things that my CEO said to me in confidence, he said it was a secret. And a secret is something you tell one person at a time. He said, Tony, what bothers me is, where was everybody else when we were getting just handled? I said, why you ask me? I don't run with those guys. You run with them. You ask them. But where was everybody else when we were getting handled? Where are the other companies, Tony? When are they coming? Where are the other CEOs who are going to call me and say, what do you need us to do? When are they coming? And then he, did a comparison of what was happening in Indianapolis. And he said, look at the response, how companies showed up and make a difference. That was powerfully important. I am so glad that companies did that. And then he looked at me, he said, how come nobody came when we were, Twitterati was following us around? What happened to everybody? So I've been calling some of my colleagues, other CDOs at other organizations and saying, how can we all work together? How can we all show our communities that this is much more important to us than we've alluded to, and how important and how engaged we would like to see you? How do we connect with more organizations to say, how can you do what you do in your space, but reach out and make connections to those communities? Reach out, create opportunity. Not because it's the right thing to do. You've heard lots of that this afternoon. Not just because it makes business sense. It's because there is a role and responsibility for the public company to do good and do well. And I, for one, am all a part of that.